Hello and welcome to Take Me Home, the podcast offering a social democratic alternative for the politically homeless. I'm Hilary.salt.
And I'm Sebastian.moore.
And what week is it of the new Premiership now? New PM?
It's week 2, isn't it?
Week 2. It feels like longer than that.
I was thinking it's weird in some ways when you see a news article with Prime Minister Burnham, and I sort of think, yeah, that was so seamless somehow, considering how much talk there was and how much we've spoken about it for the last 6 months.
Yeah.
It's sort of weird how there's not really, I don't know, any bedding in process. It's just, oh, here he is, and he's announcing policies.
And he's meeting foreign leaders and all that kind of stuff. It does still feel a bit odd to me, to be honest.
Well, I thought we could start off. Maybe we have a little segment at the start, certainly for the first few weeks of his premiership, like a Burnham watch. Okay. Because there was more news this morning, and I thought it might be worth just quickly discussing that before we move on to our news items. Mine is going to be on this issue of Zack Polanski sharing an image where he was potentially inciting violence.
I've seen that, yeah, and not apologising for it.
Not apologising. And your news item?
I want to talk about Jodrell Bank.
Jodrell Bank? Is that where you get your savings account or what? Sorry.
It's an observatory in Cheshire. I'll talk more in a bit, but if you were a school child in Manchester, you would have been on a school trip.
Very good. Okay, so Burnham Watch. This
it's like
morning,
Spring Watch.
Is that right?
Or Summer Watch, isn't it?
Yeah. Burnham is, I suppose he wants to be more than a season, doesn't he?
Yeah. And we haven't got Chris Packham to present it, have we?
I could do Chris Packham. He announced this morning at a press conference an intention to fix social care. And he has invited the leaders of the Liberal Democrats and the Conservatives to form a bit of to have discussions to see if there's a cross-party consensus to be achieved. Interestingly, not Reform, the Greens. What he said is that Kemi Badenoch or I think it was actually the Shadow Health Secretary. I have to admit, I can't think who the Shadow Health Secretary is, Conservative, but that shows how insignificant they've become. And Ed Davey, the leader of the Lib Dems.
Kerry Street, is that the name?
Oof, no idea.
I made that up. I might have made that up.
But it's something Ed Davies often talked about as social care. So they've reached out to Burnham over the weekend. He's called this press conference this morning. And I thought it was quite impressive that he's, as I said to you just now, hitting all the right notes in terms of what I would want to see from a prime minister, not trying to perhaps gain political... what would you call that? Like to gain leverage over the other parties to say, yeah, we're doing this, whereas you failed. He's actually trying to say, look, this is an issue that we really need to solve as a country. Let's try and find some consensus. And whether they manage it or not is a separate question, but at least he's attempting it. He's also, I think he's brought the Casey review forward a year. So he's trying to expedite that as fast as possible. I don't know why, if it could be done within a year, why wasn't it initially? Maybe they've put more resources into it. Don't really know.
I think Starmer was trying to kick it into the long grass. That's why it was a long period to do it.
So that he didn't have to do anything. Yeah. Really? Okay. Yeah. And I just wanted to read you this quote from Burnham this morning. He said, I know this, and this was in response to a journalist, and it was very off the cuff, and I've written it down in more concisely. He didn't say it as concisely as this, but he said, I know this will require me to put what political capital I have on the table, and it could wear down that political capital in some ways, but I'm prepared to do it because this has gone on too long and the risks of failing to act are too great. I think that's fantastic.
It is.
Because he understands that he has an opportunity right now where he's come in, he's got that honeymoon period that we've talked about. He doesn't have the baggage that Keir Starmer had. He could do things like this, but he has to act fast. And the thing that he was most critical of himself for when he was health secretary, the journalists asked about this morning, and they attempted a social care review, I believe in 2009, maybe 2010, was that it was far too close to the general election. And his big argument today was that I'm doing this first thing, not right next to a general election, so that we can properly do something about it and it doesn't just get forgotten about.
Yeah. And when other people have tried it, it has kind of very much become a very politically polarised issue, hasn't it? Where lots of jargon like death taxes, dementia tax, all those kind of things have bit floated around, haven't they? So Theresa May tried to have a go, didn't she, and failed. So I'm a little bit split on this idea of reaching out to the other parties. So, because on the one hand, it kind of feels to me that it's almost like it proves that it's a uni party. I kind of want the Labour Party to have a different view of how you provide social care to the Tory party. And the idea that he thinks they can all agree kind of says to me, well, that's because none of them are thinking politically. So on that basis, I'm just a little bit nervous about it. But on the other hand, we can't have another government that just fails to do anything. So the fact that he's really keen to make sure he can establish some kind of consensus to make it succeed, I think is a good thing.
Yeah, and he said a couple of things which I thought were good, which was that he kept reiterating that we had to bring the public on board and hear from the public and actually listen to what they want and have that proper conversation about how we're going to do this. And he sort of indicated maybe that's taxing people and doing a similar model to the NHS, where at the moment people are having to sell their homes in order to pay for social care. He's saying maybe you shouldn't have to. Maybe we all pay a little bit to protect those people when they need care and often in older age. The other thing is that he is trying to win a political victory, which is something that the other parties will not then go back on. Because what you could do is he could lose the election in 2029. He could win a Labour minority and not do the things that he wants to do. And so in order to protect whatever he can achieve now, he wants to do something, I gather from what he said, that will have cross-party support. Now, you don't just win a political victory by getting cross-party support. You actually do it by winning over enough of the public so that the other parties would be stupid to go back on it. But it's a sign of some good stuff. And I think we have said, as two people that consider ourselves social democrats, but have lots of concern about the current Labour Party that's in power, and lots of concerns about Burnham and what he might try and do. And there's a lot that I think we'd be really suspicious of. We're also going to give him credit when he's trying to do something good. And I think this is, and talking about a national care service, that's something that is SDP policy to do a national care service. So I think it's positive at the moment.
Yeah. It's one of those things we talk about quite a bit, isn't it? How do we feel when other parties steal our policies? Mm-hmm. And at least it means that things are coming out the way that we would want them to come out. So perhaps we should just be pleased that, we're getting what we would like, but from a different party.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
In this area, at least.
Yeah.
I think that point you made about having a cross-party agreement making things last, I think that's really important. Certainly my experience of trying to negotiate a settlement to a dispute in a workplace where you've maybe got lots of different trade unions involved. It's very easy to drive through a solution that not everybody's fully signed up to, but you find that's a solution that's very brittle and it can just fall apart very quickly. It's worth spending time getting something that everybody understands and everybody can explain to their members, the public as it would be in this case, and everybody can get that general support for, and that makes it a much more lasting solution.
Mm. I've got tons more to say about recent developments with Burnham as Prime Minister and things that are going on, but perhaps we should move on, otherwise we'll spend the whole episode talking about this.
Yeah, we can't just do Burnham Watch all episode, can we?
We could change the name of the podcast, Burnham Watch.
So, do you want to start with Jodrell Bank, or do you want to start with Zack Polanski?
Can we start with Zack Polanski?
Yeah.
As always, you're picking the sort of technical issue with a lot of depth. I'm picking the one of somebody that posted something on Instagram with a T-shirt, the picture. So a little bit more gossipy, but I think it actually gets to something that's quite important. So this was, I think, when are we recording this? What day is it? I'm getting confused now.
It's today, Wednesday.
Is it Wednesday? I think this was posted on Monday, wasn't it?
It's Wednesday because Friday's at doggy daycare. So it must be Wednesday.
Friday's not here on Wednesday.
Yeah.
That's the word, yeah. So I think it's on Monday evening, but might have that slightly out. But certainly in the last 24, 48 hours, Zack Polanski shared something on his Instagram page. And it was of a picture. I'll put it up for anybody that's watching the podcast rather than listening. It's a picture of a man in a T-shirt. He's got a colourful hat on. He's doing a peace sign. And the picture is of a guillotine. And it says, I'm making plans for Nigel. I think
We're only making plans
for Nigel. Do you understand the reference?
Yes.
Of course you understand the reference. It is from?
XTC, the band. We're only making plans for Nigel.
Is that a play on what? Ecstasy?
Yes.
Oh, I when I read it, I didn't hear it in my head. Yeah, okay, so I read it. I'd never heard of XTC before.
Okay, I've seen them live.
Have you? Okay, very
numerous
good.
occasions.
Of course you have. Of course you have. Now, this was then reported to the police by Reform, by Nigel Farage and Zia Youssef, who both put out tweets. I'll just read you those tweets now. So Nigel Farage said, "This is what Zack Polanski has just posted on his Instagram. If I was to post anything as insightful, then I would expect to be arrested, and so should Polanski." Zia Youssef has said, "So the rules are, if you have right-wing views and post incitement to violence to almost no followers, you go to jail instantly. If you do so as the leader of a left-wing party with one of the biggest social followings in the UK, you don't even have to apologise. Britain 2026. So, I would like to elaborate a little bit on the story. I don't know if you've read much about this.
I've just saw a quick clip of Polanski being interviewed on TV about it and not apologising.
It was Monday, wasn't it? Because it happened when we were at the hustings for the Greater Manchester mayoral election, which is taking place tomorrow, as we record this. And after we left the venue, I remember looking at my phone and saw this news story. Yeah, so it's the sort of thing. I think the first thing I want to say is that living in an age of quick information, we often have a poor understanding of stories, and this leads people to immediately settle into their tribe and to come out fighting. And when I first saw it, I thought, wow, okay. So Zack Polanski's taken a photo of this guy, posted it on Instagram. Like, surely he would, even if he's joking, surely if he realises quite how bad that sounds, particularly with recent events and Widdicombe and Nigel Farage calling this by-election partly as a way of saying, I'm not, I have to pay for all this protection. Those are why the donations were necessary, something we've covered before. So I was really surprised by that. It turns out, if you've seen the interview on Newsnight with Victoria Derbyshire, it's actually what's called a collaboration on Instagram. Now, I know of this because my Sebastian Moore STP account, which you can go and follow if you want, it's the only time I ever go on social media is for STP purposes and posting, updates, campaign things. And I know in the past that someone's tried to collaborate with me. Maybe it was for something to do with a Gorton and Denton election or something. And it says on Instagram, you get a notification and it says, do you accept this collaboration? So, for example, I could put a photo up now of me and you and from my account, and I say, collaborate with hilary.salt. I don't think you've got an Instagram.
I've not.
Okay.
Well, I think I have, but I never used it.
Okay. And if you accept, it then gets posted to your Instagram profile as well as mine, even though I was the person to post it. So what's happened is this photographer, and I think his account is called Just Barold, Barold, and he doesn't have much of a following at all, but he's posted 20 photos in like a carousel, I think it's called, where you flick through them. Zack Polanski's accepted the collaboration, so he's looked through them, accepted it, and one of those photos was of the man in the T-shirt. Victoria Derbyshire has said, did you not look through these properly? Zack Polanski's argument is that he very quickly looked and didn't read the T-shirt, accepted it, and then as soon as it was made clear to him what was. He took it down, but he's refused to apologise. I think this is crazy in my mind that Reform are missing an open goal, as they often do, because this is a perfect opportunity to gain the political high ground and say, this was an awful joke, not funny, probably shouldn't have posted it, but no, he shouldn't be arrested. He shouldn't go to jail. He's posted something online, right? That's what we've been saying for ages about Lucy Connolly, about Jamie Michael, who we talked about with Luke Gittos.
Yeah.
Instead, they sort of play I think they're being very hypocritical, and whether they're trying to just make a point is not clear. I mean, their supporters will probably say they're just saying it should be, the law should be applied equally. My point is, and something we've talked about before, they are encouraging, or let's say they are positioning themselves to be the government of this country. So everything they should do is saying, this is how the law should be, right? Because that's what we believe in the sovereignty of Parliament, that if you want to pass a law, you can do it. So as a politician, you don't have to consider everything through the context of what the current laws are. Right, and that's really important. So if you think, no, this isn't the sort of thing that somebody should be arrested for, say it. That's a perfect opportunity to do so. Instead, they're playing playground politics and phoning the police on Zack Polanski for an issue that's just completely ridiculous in my mind.
Agreed. Yeah, I think exactly that. So that's hard to have a discussion about that now, because I don't disagree with you. It's just...
But is it... Okay, so just before I move on, because there's a couple other things I want to say about this story, but is that... do you think it's incitement to violence?
Not at all, no. I mean, I always struggle with this argument about things being an incitement to violence, because it's almost a way of valuing or disrespecting, probably is a better word these days, the audience. The idea that somebody would see somebody wearing perhaps in poor taste, but actually a little bit amusing T-shirt, that you're then going to go and build a guillotine in your back garden,
right? And
go and get Nigel Farage and hold him down underneath it. I mean, surely nobody thinks that. Mm. I mean, I understand that against the background of Anne Widdecombe and against the background of some of the threats that are made, not just to Nigel Farage, but to a lot of our elected politicians, I can understand it being sensitive, but it should be oh gosh, that was a really dreadful thing to do. Let's hold our hands up and move on.
Yeah, I completely agree. So I think there's the other interesting element to this story is during that interview on Newsnight, Polanski was asked 3 times, as the BBC report in their write-up of the story, whether he wanted to apologise. And he refused to apologise, but also said that he did the wrong thing by sharing it, but said that it was unintentional, so he didn't knowingly do wrong. So he acknowledged the blame, but refused to apologise. And some people, my brother shared a photo with me today of the news article and saying, how can I explain to my 4-year-old when he's done something wrong and he has to apologise, right? And I think it does seem silly, but I actually think Polanski did the right thing here. Now, Polanski's problem is that he doesn't really believe in free speech or understand the reasons for it. So he sort of falls down there where he could stand up for free speech. It's a perfect opportunity to do so, but he doesn't, because I don't think he truly believes in it. However, just in terms of apologising, I think he's right to say, no, I'm not going to apologise. And we've seen this from other politicians. I think Donald Trump showed this. There was a very famous debate moment in the Republican primaries. I think it was 2015, I want to say, where Megyn Kelly asked Donald Trump if he was going to apologise for all the comments he's made about women. And he comes back with this quip saying, only Rosie O'Donnell, right? As in, you don't know who that is?
No, okay. I don't, sorry.
But he's saying, that's the only person I've called, all of these horrible things. And it was a really good way of spinning it round on the media and saying, that's ridiculous, I'm not going to apologise. Because I think the media are so, particularly the mainstream media, they foster this sort of Punch and Judy politics. And what's interesting in that interview is that she asks him about the social care stuff that we talked about at the start of the podcast. And I think it's about a minute, maybe less. And quite quickly she goes back to, I'll just give you one more chance. Will you apologise for the comments? And I'm thinking to myself, like, you've got a leader of one of the biggest parties in the UK now on your show, and that's the best you've got. It's just to ask him, are you going to apologise? Are you going to apologise? And what I would really like to see, and I don't know why they don't do this more, I'd love Zack Polanski, Nigel Farage, you might consider them populists, to really push back against the media and say, nah, I'm not going to play these games.
Yeah.
And instead they seem to be acquiescing to it a little bit. That's why I was kind of glad to see Polanski refuse to apologise. It did then get me thinking, when should you apologise? Because this is something, as politicians, as people that want to stand for elections, you and I would have put ourselves forward to be elected to Parliament. We might be in that position where one day we accidentally do something wrong. The media are telling us we should apologise. When should one apologise?
So I think there's two questions there. There's when should one apologise, and what does an apology mean in the kind of Punch and Judy situation we have in the media these days. So, I mean, I think you should apologise when you do something perhaps in the heat of the moment and you maybe shout at somebody or you behave in a very impatient manner, and then going back later and apologising, I think is sensible. I don't think I would apologise for a misjudgment. So kind of misjudgment on action, so, I snap at you. I think, yeah, apology's sensible. The fact that I had a different view and I've changed my mind, I don't think you should then apologise for the view you had before, because I think something's happened to change your mind. And therefore, you wouldn't necessarily, if you could rewind history without knowing what you now know, you might well think the same as you previously did. So I think I think those are the kind of decisions I would make in terms of when I would apologise. But I think the real problem now is that the minute you apologise for anything, you are defeated, aren't you? It's just in the way that the media works at the moment, I almost feel any public figure has just got to never apologise. Yeah. And that's not a good place to be in. But it feels that that's the place the media has effectively got us to, where an apology is just never appropriate. Sadly.
And it's funny, isn't it, how you can say, like Polanski did, I did the wrong thing, I wish I hadn't done that. Yeah. I wouldn't do that again, which is the core tenets of an apology. But what they want is they want you to say that word.
Yeah.
Say that word sorry. And it's a power thing, so they can use it against you, so they can get their story. And I think it's really insidious. And I've been thinking about, just this morning, really trying to dwell on this idea of apologies, because as a Christian, like, it's important to apologise, I think. And I actually read up a blog which I thought was really useful. And this lady was talking about how sometimes after you've done something, you'll feel a certain sense of guilt. And the difficulty is knowing, is that guilt imposed by people, or is it guilty because you know you've done the wrong thing? And she said that the Holy Spirit will move you. And for anybody that's not, Christian or religious, you might call it the conscience, right? When you're sitting there, you think, actually, you know what? I really don't feel good about that. I think I need to say sorry to this person. And if that happens to you and you think, okay, my conscience is telling me I need to go and apologise to this person, you go out there and you find that person. You could, Zack Polanski is actually often at the House of Commons, even though he's not an MP. He's allowed to go as a leader. I think he gets a pass. And you could say to Nigel Farage, hey, have you got 5 minutes? Just wanted to talk to you. And you could say, look, I'm sorry about that. Complete accident. But obviously in the current circumstances and situations, I hope it didn't hurt you too much. And that would be a really honourable thing to do.
Agreed.
But in no circumstances would apologising when a journalist is grilling you on live TV and pressuring you to do so, no circumstances would that be right in my mind. And that, and in this lady's argument from the blog, was that that's when the world is trying to convince you. So rather than your conscience or the Holy Spirit, it's when the world is trying to make you feel a certain way, make you feel guilty. And I think that's probably the distinction for when you should apologise.
And it is almost like they're trying to paint it as a good and evil thing, isn't it? So, like, was it Peter who denied Jesus 3 times? Like him refusing to apologise 3 times kind of puts you on that wrong side of history, wrong side of religion.
That's interesting, yeah. Yeah, and I think it's so easy for us when you take something out of context, like the current media landscape, social media, and the way that we share information nowadays. You know, this is a guy in, like, I don't even know where it was, some random bloke who looks like a bit of a hippie. You know, he's got quite a funky hat on, who's wearing quite an edgy t-shirt, right? That is referencing a certain band from 100 years ago. Sorry. And it's supposedly funny. And like, you know, it's not up to me to say whether that's funny or not. The individual just, you know, can decide. But it's a random bloke. It gets shared by a fairly unknown photographer, happens to then get collaborated with on Zack Polanski's Instagram. And immediately we're judging this as if it's the, you know, Zack Polanski's gone out there and called for MPs to be killed. I mean, it's absolutely absurd. And Zia Yusuf said, I believe, if he's not arrested, then the police will be calling for open season on all MPs. And you just think, what? When did we get to this point?
That's just mad.
So we need some normality, some common sense to return.
Yeah.
We need some SCP MPs in there.
We do, exactly. Yeah. So,
very good. Okay.
That's that story.
Yes.
Shall we move on to Jodrell Bank?
Yes. I know I can't say it. Jodrell.
Yeah.
I know Jodrell Bank.
Okay.
From flying in.
Oh, of course.
Because when you fly into Manchester Airport, you'll notice it's massive, like, what do you call those things?
Parabola? It's parabolic something?
I think it's like a dish.
Yeah, a dish.
Yeah.
That's a more down-to-earth name for it, yes.
So what is it and why is it in the news?
So Jodrell Bank, for people who live in the Northwest, it's the kind of place where everybody goes on a school trip. I think there are about 25,000 school children go there every year as on a school trip. And for many of them, it's the thing that kind of sparks their interest in science. And it's what it is, it's an observatory. So it has what was, when it was built in 1957, the biggest radio telescope. Now, I do remember when I went as a school child, I was a bit disappointed because I imagined a telescope was something you could kind of see the moon through. But it's a radio telescope. So what it does is it collects radio waves. It's not...
You can't see those.
No, it's not like a load of lenses that you can look through and see nice things. But it's obviously it's a place where there's a lot of scientific research done, and it's not just something that was built in 1957 and it's kind of legacy historic thing. It's been updated and upgraded lots and lots of times, and it's still being used to study black holes, to study the beginnings of the universe. So obviously, you know, you're looking back in time through it. So you're collecting radio waves that were generated a long time ago. And you are... it's also used for kind of very practical things like looking at space debris these days. Lots of space debris out there. So it's important that, you know, we have a facility that can look at that kind of stuff too. I'm trying not to be too... romantic about this. So if you think I am verging into that, okay, then do pick me up on it, because obviously
if you break into a poem about Jodrell Bank, then I'll jump in and interrupt.
Yeah. But it's a beautiful place to go. If you've not been, you should go. There's one of the new buildings is kind of grass covered dome that echoes the shape of the observatory. And it's got lots of exhibitions about planets and science, and as well as about the actual telescopes themselves. So the big telescope is called the Lovell telescope, after the physicist. There's I think there's 3 other telescopes there as well, and these are part of a selection of telescopes across the UK, the E. Merlin telescopes, which, we get data from all of those, and it's all pulled together to do analyses of what's happening, or what was happening out there in space. So it's a lovely place to go to. It's also hosted music festivals. So I've been to the Blue Dot Festival at the observatory. It's all Kraftwerk. Kraftwerk?
I've heard of him, them, her, it.
Band, yeah.
Yes.
German techno band, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because it's at Jodrell Bank, generally it has a kind of sciencey stroke spacey theme. And there's lots of science talks there as well as just the music. So it's a bit more of a mixed festival. And it's also, these are things I remember from my childhood about it, which is why I'm saying don't let me be too romantic about it. I remember stories in the news. So when we first got microwave ovens, there was a news item about how they had to put the microwave oven in a metal box at Jodrell Bank, because otherwise the waves from the microwave would interfere with the collection of radio waves.
Makes sense. I had sorry, this is just a slight tangent, but I was speaking to a friend who, I don't know how old she is actually, but older than me, yesterday, and we were breaking down cardboard boxes, and she said, cardboard's so good, isn't it? And I was like, yeah, I suppose so. She was like, it was a pain before cardboard. And I was like, you remember a time before cardboard?
I don't remember a time before cardboard.
Well, you remember a time before microwaves.
Yeah, I do. Yes. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So, yeah, I remember that story being in the news, and you still can't use mobile phones very close to it because they interfere with the radio waves.
Do they take your phones?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a great place to go to then if you want to get away from screens.
Yeah. And I remember one of the Doctor Who's, so the Tom Baker Doctor Who, he fell from one of the walkways at Jodrell Bank when he died. Well, they don't die, do they? They regenerate. But when he died, and he regenerated as Peter Davison. Do you remember? I don't know if you remember these doctors.
I mean, I know the names.
Yeah. So Tom Baker was the one with the very long scarf and the dark curly hair. He was my favourite doctor, actually. So there's all those reasons why I feel very romantic about Jodrell Bank. I feel very attached to it. So this story we have in the news at the moment, which is what I wanted to talk about, is they receive funding from UKRI, UK Research and Innovation. And they've just been told that their funding is going to be shut off in 2028. So, I mean, that's a disaster for them, obviously. They get the majority of their funding from there. And obviously lots of people are very upset. Shall I read you some quotes from people who are upset by this? Brian Cox.
The actor or the scientist?
The scientist.
That makes sense.
D. Ream, though. You know, he was in D. Ream, wasn't he? Things can only get better.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But Professor now at University of Manchester, he says, these devastating and irreversible cuts are a legacy from a series of hasty and ill-considered decisions taken by UKRI, overseen by a government department that no longer exists.
I was hoping you'd do that in his accent.
Oh, no, I can't really do it.
These devastating decisions. Sorry, go on.
I'm astonished that UKRI is still ploughing ahead and not working with the Burnham government to find a solution. So he's very cross. Professor Catherine Haymans, who is, do you know who that is? No. Scotland's Astronomer Royal. Didn't know Scotland had an Astronomer Royal, I confess, but wow, they do.
I quite like that job.
Yeah. She said, Jodrell has been delivering spectacular discovery science for decades. To see this world-leading facility cut is just devastating. The Royal Astronomical Society said they are dismayed. At a time when technological innovation is crucial to our country's prospects, discarding unique, globally significant observatories threatens both our scientific future and the inspiration of a future generation of astronomers. Some researchers called it scientific vandalism. So lots of people are very upset about it, including me.
Oh, yeah.
Now, why is it happening? So we usually do this bingo game of why businesses are struggling, don't we? Do you want to have a go?
It usually starts, I think nowadays it usually starts with national insurance, living wage, energy prices. But I think in this case, it'll probably be the reverse order.
Yes, you're right. Yeah. So they have a budget, UKRI, of about £10 billion a year. The Guardian says, I couldn't find anywhere where the UKRI said this, but the Guardian says that the reason for it needing to make cuts is soaring electricity and staff costs at UK facilities, and something that wasn't in our bingo list there, high foreign exchange rates for international collaborations, such as a CERN nuclear research laboratory near Geneva. So I suppose when you...
I was not expecting foreign exchange rates to be one of the reasons.
But I can see why it is.
Yeah.
Because you need to give more pounds to get the same amount of foreign currency, euros. Presumably, I don't know what their budget will be denominated in, to be honest.
What, CERN?
Yeah.
I doubt it's Swiss francs, but
You'd think so, wouldn't you? But given that everybody else is contributing in euros, you'd think it might be in euros. I don't know. Is it right that the Tour de France prize money is still paid in Swiss francs?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Do you mean like French francs?
No,
I can't imagine it being Swiss francs.
I don't know.
It's euros. When they go across like an intermediate sprint or a King of the Mountains, they'll say, that's 500 euros.
Or do they say euros? Okay, okay. So, I mean, I think it is another victim of high energy costs. And obviously, we've argued strongly before, haven't we, that solving the affordability of energy would make things so much easier across the board. And we've generally been thinking about that in terms of keeping houses warm or keeping businesses going. But clearly, it's also an issue in terms of research and innovation, that the high cost of energy is a real barrier for them too. So it's another reason why we need to have energy abundance.
And there's certain things that we've talked about in regards to SDP policy or something that we think is important for the country. Housing being one, energy prices, and NHS we've been talking about recently, social care. And these things, you start to realise they are areas that affect everybody, right? And energy is one of those where you think if you could lower energy bills, which, I mean, our energy abundance paper sets out a way of doing that, by lowering them by more than half, you positively impact everybody in the country, including businesses, including research centres.
Exactly, yeah. So I just wanted to make a very strong argument that we should try and rescue Jodrell Bank in some way. Don't know how we can contribute, but it feels like
there needs with placards.
Exactly, that's what I was thinking. There needs to be some kind of popular campaign.
Okay.
Save Jodrell Bank. I mean, not just because I'm romantic, but surely there's a real national interest in having a world-class research facility. I mean, it's that, when they say, what did the space programme produce for ordinary people?
What did the space programme ever do for us?
Exactly. Teflon is the answer, isn't it? Teflon.
Among other things.
Yeah. Teflon frying pans. Again, I remember a time before non-stick pans, Sebastian. And before microwaves.
It's like last week when we were talking about Thames water and water being privatised and everything, and me saying that I've just grown up in this world of
Yeah.
privatised utilities. So it's hard for me to cast my, to imagine what it was like before. It's a similar thing, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So,
But sorry, just to go back, you're talking about the national interest,
Yeah.
and it being important to save Jodrell Bank. Now, I don't want to be reactionary and say, something that I haven't really thought about for longer than 2 seconds before I'm suddenly like, yeah, we need to save this thing, because I don't know enough about the technical side of how important this is. But going off of let's just say it is an important thing and it is important worldwide. This is the sort of moment where you can imagine looking back and you think this happens with various sectors at the moment, where we say, oh, the UK is just really not good at this thing anymore as it used to be. And it's these moments that will be like bookmarks for when something big happened and when we lost a bit of our capacity. I was thinking that it had similarities to Denby, which we covered a few months back, how we'll look back and go, oh, wow, do you remember when Denby was around?
Yeah.
And it's so sad seeing these moments happen frequently.
Yeah. It does also feel to me that this is one of those areas where there's room for a kind of three different organisations or three parts of society getting together. So government, our universities and the private sector. Why can there not be, some kind of a group of those, all three of those people get together? I mean, I wouldn't mind too much if it was called the Sainsbury's Jodrell Bank, or, it was kind of some kind of sponsorship from the private sector.
Another quick tangent.
Yeah.
The Peak District, I believe, have had a sponsorship campaign from Skoda, and it says, I just saw this briefly, I think it was on the BBC, where people are protesting about it because the signs say Skoda and then the Peak District on, the classic sort of British signs.
Yeah.
Of course, the ice cream van will be coming down my road. He waits until we do a podcast.
Yeah.
And he's like, here we go. And it says the Peak District, and they've replaced the K with a Q, the Peak District, because of the Skoda Q. And people are up in arms. And I thought, yeah, I absolutely hate that. So the idea of Sainsbury's Jodrell Bank, I don't know, I'm a bit uncomfortable with it. I don't like the idea of private companies sponsoring all of our important national
I could live with that. I mean, the tech bros are really into space, aren't they?
Yeah.
Is there not a UK tech bro who could come and help Jodrell Bank?
Don't know.
Kind of, who is the UK's equivalent of Elon Musk?
Don't know.
That's the kind of saviour it feels like
Is
we're
there
waiting
a UK
for.
equivalent of Elon Musk?
I don't know. It's not that posh George, is it?
No, I doubt it. Do you know, when you said UK equivalent of Elon Musk, I thought of like celebrity that was part of the darling sort of liberal class who now is a complete apostate. And I was thinking of J.K. Rowling as the equivalent of Elon Musk.
Yeah. Well, maybe she could step in and help.
Hogwarts Jodrell Bank.
Hogwarts Jodrell Bank. That
I don't think she needs any advertising though.
No. Anyway, if anybody has any thoughts as to who might help save Jodrell Bank, perhaps you could let us know. That's me done. Yeah.
That's everything. Wow.
Yeah.
Very good.
So we may not be here next week because I think we both have quite a number of holidays coming up, don't we? So it might be 2 weeks before we see you again. But thanks for listening.
We'll see you again next time.